Hi everyone, I'm Biv Wadden with Devoted Golfer TV. I'm joined today by Lloyd Evans of Precision Putting Technology. Lloyd, thanks for joining us. We're here today in Orlando, Florida at the 2018 PGA Merchandise Show. And Lloyd, I've been coming to the show now for, I believe, 8 years consecutively.
Wow.
And I've watched the technology sector of this show grow up over the years.
Okay.
And I have to say, in years past, as I walked the floor and looked at a lot of the technology-oriented products, particularly some of the newer ones, they were most likely in an infant toy-like, stage.
Yep.
And one of the things I'm really impressed with today, as I'm walking along the floor, is how mature some of these technology products are becoming, and the substance that I'm seeing now in these products. Technology's come a long way, and thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about the Capto putting analysis software product that's offered by Precision Putting Technology. And Lloyd, why don't you take us through how things work?
Okay, well the Capto is obviously a putting sensor. It fits on the shaft of the putter. We have it on the back, so obviously then there's no optical disturbances. It weighs 47 grams. Okay, obviously the sensor, when it's high on the shaft, loses a little bit of that weight. It has 14 sensors. Also, it has its own Wi-Fi. So you have no problems with Bluetooth or internet connections. Once you're connected to, yeah, exactly. Once you're connected to the Capto Wi-Fi, that's it until you turn it off. And basically, it measures.
There's a calibration process associated.
Exactly,
with that, right?
exactly.
Talk a little bit about the calibration process.
Well,
maybe you can use the table here.
Yeah, sure. With the calibration, it's a very important part. Obviously, once you have a new customer, you put the player data in. All the data of the putter in putter data, and then basically the calibration is very important. Obviously, the distance the sensor is from the head is measured, and then we would use a straight edge, lay the Capto and the putter flat on a flat surface, and square the club face up. The calibration then takes a couple of seconds. It will be registered in the system, and then the putter is ready to go.
And then you're going to also supply the computer program with a few specifics about the design of the club, the length of the club.
Of course.
The head weight,
Exactly.
Offset.
Exactly.
There's a number of parameters that, by the way, I think the number of fitting parameters that you supply is more than I see in other competing products.
I mean, obviously the information of the putter data, as far as loft, length of the putter, the weight, and offset are very important factors, obviously, because that affects the parameters that it's going to record in the stroke. So that's probably one of the most important things when we collaborate or start with a new customer, is the information of the putter.
So Lloyd, there's a whole host of little kind of icons to hit on, ranging from some fairly straightforward metrics that we're always interested in putting, to some very sophisticated ones that a few of which are quite new in terms of metrics offered within these type of products. Show us a couple of the screens here.
Sure. If I could just rest that up there. So. Okay, well, obviously, as we know, as we analyze the putt, obviously the face is one of the most important, and that's up here in the top left-hand corner. So if we see here, the system itself, we use green, yellow, and red as colors. We have, at the moment, this actual putt has a margin of error of 1 degree. So if you're within 1 degree, it will be green. If
you
you're,
can set that.
you can set it. So if I have a great putter and a great tour pro, then we'll narrow that margin down, maybe to half a degree or even less. So or if you've got a high handicap and the screen is red, we can make it a little bigger. So obviously, not to demotivate anybody. But as you see on this screen, you can see it's plus 1.5 degrees are open, Generally in the whole system, if it's plus, it will be open. If it's minus, it will be closed. If I just touch on that screen now and open that up, okay, we have our graph here. In the whole system of Capto, if we look here, the yellow bar is generally the top of the backswing. The orange bar, that is impact. And we see here we're at the starting line. I'll just open up another little option here. So we have the, have the club face, the putter. So if I scroll down from 0, we can see how here, very little movement at the start, and then here, getting close to the top of the backswing, you see some rotation here. Putter face is opening, and take it through to the top of the backswing.
This is all being done on a continuous basis.
Yeah, and we see
right here we're almost at the maximum amount of rotation.
Exactly. So in this kind of putt, no, I mean obviously I've seen some putts today very straight back and through with very little rotation, and other styles of putter with much more arc and much more rotation, to maybe even 8 or 9 degrees of rotation in the club face on the backswing. And here we are. We can see where the current face position is 4 degrees open. Okay, the optimal face. This is basically the actual player himself. So the Capto stores the player's putts and always gives him like his optimum. So he's always chasing his own good putts. And as we go then from the top of the backswing, we can see now as the club face will start to close, and then at impact, well, didn't quite square it up in this putt. As we can see then, the current face 1.5, which we saw on the other screen. No? These optical things, I mean, a lot of pros are used to graphs, and you know, it's very important information, but these visual things are easy to understand for the client or for the player. So very visual, and can see what's happening.
In 3D as well?
Yeah, we have a 3D screen. So if you see here, I go back to what we call the lab. Okay, this is where it shows the 20 parameters. Then we go up to the 3D. This is very visual. We can move this every angle we want to see it, from behind, from in front. I can go on top. So this is a great way to really see the stroke and analyze it in a visual way for the client. We can just stroll along there. And again, in the system, like I said before, the yellow bar is always top of the backswing. The orange bar will be impact. And this pink kind of circle here you see on the screen, and just before impact, that's when the putter reaches its lower point.
And if this were a touch screen, I could take my finger and kind of move it around the screen and get
Sure,
it to...
sure. You can also make it further away. You can make it bigger. You know, whatever you want to do with that. So it's a pretty useful tool and very visual.
Right, right. One of the features that I was interested in is the acceleration profiles. Can you bring up that screen and talk
Sure.
about that a little bit?
Okay, so this is the stroke direction and added acceleration. Again, let me just scroll that back to... Okay, we just see. So obviously the green line is a very smooth line, and we can see here these yellow lines are sort of negative variations of speed.
These wiggly lines are the actuals, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and then this smooth green line is really kind of what would otherwise be considered an ideal.
An ideal, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so the coach or the player has a reference of what's happening. Okay, so obviously you're controlling the acceleration speeds all throughout the swing. Okay, we stop at the top of the backswing. You also see actually the Capto does 300 frames a second. So you see here we're at 0.79 and we're up to 236 frames to the top of the backswing. And this one is pretty speedy on the way down through to impact. Okay, and there we see the numbers here. So the whole putt time was 1.06 and 318 frames were recorded.
So one of the things that is interesting about this is that this green ideal path for the acceleration curve is consistent with a 2-to-1 tempo, which is a target that anyone who's teaching putting, learning
Sure.
how to putt well, is striving for.
Yeah.
And so this particular putter looks like they are quite far from
Yeah.
the ideal.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing some rough math on the ratio of the backstroke through the two-stroke, and it's like closer to 1.4 instead
Yeah.
of 2.0. You can see right up in here, this golfer is kind of making a classic mistake of like accelerating through the
Too
ball.
much acceleration.
Too much
Exactly.
acceleration.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it can that last acceleration is going up as the ideal is supposed to be headed
Exactly.
back down towards zero. So one of the things that I think puts this product in the mature category that I was talking about earlier is that it is capturing not only the acceleration profile, but has an expectation, as to what it should look like.
Sure,
if it was
a reference.
2 to 1. And so these are the type of features that, really, with it, teaching professionals want to see in these
Exactly.
in these analytic products.
Let me just
Let's
go-
talk about one more that I've not seen in any putting analysis products to date, and there's two parameters that deal with the yips. So talk a little bit about that.
Obviously, we've in this actual putt, there's not too much movement, but obviously we've changed the name from yips to a more conservative description of handling and trembling. So if we go into these graphs, obviously through the acceleration speeds, the ideal graph on this would be to have a very smooth line, but it's almost impossible because this Capto sensor is really sensitive. So this is actually not too bad a putt. Again, we use green and yellow and red. So this putt is pretty okay. There's no yellow signs, no red.
So this device that sits on the shaft,
Yeah.
there are accelerometers in there that are sensitive enough to pick up the slightest trembling in the hand.
Obviously, we know there's different types of yips, the lateral, vertical, okay, and the dystonia when the fingertips, you can't control these muscle movements and these jerky movements.
Involuntary jerks.
Okay, so then the Capto will record these jerky movements and these speed ups. You see in this one, okay, it's pretty smooth, a little bit of yellow here, but you see then here, just before impact, not too much. I mean, I've seen much more than this
This
before.
golfer's actually, while they're rushing the putt, that's something to work on. They're actually not like yippy and trembling.
No.
But
Here's a pretty
little
smooth, just
red
a little
lining
bit, just a little bit of acceleration through impact. Yeah.
So if they are beyond a threshold, that green time series, it turns red and
Turns red.
flashes
I mean,
danger.
I've experimented. I've really done some shaky putts to test the system, and you will see this graph go like this. Okay, so I've done it at the start of the swing. I've tried to accelerate from the top of the backswing or just before impact, and every single time it will show these red lines. So it's a fantastic tool because the pro can actually, in every part of the swing, identify where it's happening, make a decision, whatever decision he wants to do with his client to get rid of it. But you can use this, apart from in an ideal spot, we can go with a Capto on the golf course. So on the putting green, in an ideal situation, you might not see any of this, but if he's got an important putt he's got to make to get that par, we might see some jerky movements. So that's the difference of being in an ideal situation, putting, or real-life putting. So that's the huge difference, basically what the Capto can do. We are not just in a fixed point, in an ideal indoor on the mat. We can take this out on the golf course, we can take it out on the putting green, we can do uphill, downhill, lies, whatever you want. So really identify the player's weaknesses. Normally a good player in a set position, he's going to hit a pretty reasonable putt. He's going to have some good datas and some good numbers. But it might not be the same way when he's got a downhill left to right or an uphill right to left. So that's a unique thing about the Capto, taking it to, out on the golf course.
So that can just come out and it'll save data and
Yeah.
capture swings, even though there's not a, what is it, it brings the data back to the computer later on?
Exactly. I mean, if I on my tablet, if I'm I have to have a 50 meters. As long as I'm within 15 meters of the Capto, it will register the putt. So, you know, I go out, say a buggy, obviously, because that's in English. I go out in the cart with some players, and we can play 9 holes. And I can record every single putt that my player done through the 9 holes, and then we can go through it after the 9 holes. So it's, you know, fantastic, because you do see a lot of changes, you know.
So talk a little bit about the price of the product and how it's positioned versus some of the other competitors in the market.
Okay, well, to be honest, we think it's too cheap. And the Capto really does give you a lot of opportunities to discover many more things than just being on a mat and from what I call static putt. The price itself, it's in euros, it's 1,790. In dollars, it's 2,180. So I think it's a very attractive price for what this gives a coach, a player, a university, whoever's using this. We're actually at the show. We've made quite a few sales, and we've got a special offer at the show. Every purchase at the PGA show this year, we're giving away a Game Golf GPS tracking system. So that's how
Well,
it
that's
is.
great. I mean, there's some competing products that are a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
That have nowhere near the functionality of this.
Yeah.
And there are some that are much more expensive
Yeah.
that still don't have the functionality
Yeah.
that you have. I have to say, walking around the floor this year, this is one of the more exciting new products that I've seen, and I love the value proposition of this. So what you're getting relative to the price is a real pleasant surprise for any teacher who is looking to kind of up their game with their putting analytics. This is a tremendous solution.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you very much.
Lloyd, thanks so much for joining
A
us.
pleasure. Thank you very much for having me here
Lloyd
today.
Evans, Precision Putting Technology, their Capto putting analysis software. I'm Biv Wadden from Devoted Golfer TV. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.